All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question, one we all think about. How much control do we actually have over our lives?
We usually get stuck in this big debate, right? It feels like there are only two options. On one hand, you've got determinism, the idea that we're basically machines, just responding to whatever happens to us. And on the other hand, there's free will, the belief that we're the pilots totally in charge, making all the decisions.
People have been arguing about this forever. But what if? What if that whole debate is a trap? What if we're asking the wrong question entirely? In this explainer, we're going to explore a third path, a way to step outside of that endless back and forth.
Okay, so let's try a different starting point. Instead of jumping straight to choice, let's talk about what we're working with in the first place. Let's talk about your human blueprint.
I absolutely love this story from David Foster Wallace. It's just perfect for what we're talking about. We're like those fish, We're swimming in these deep patterns, our biology, our culture, our family history, and it's so normal to us, we don't even notice it's there. It's just the water. And this water, this blueprint, is made up of a whole bunch of stuff we didn't get to choose. Think about it. Your genes, the body you were born into. Your basic temperament, whether you're naturally optimistic or a bit more cautious. The family you grew up in, with all its history and, let's call it baggage. Where you started in life. All of it. This is the landscape we begin with.
And what's so cool is that science totally backs this up. The brain isn't a blank slate, not at all. We come in with certain predispositions for sure, but, and this is a big but, our brains are also incredibly flexible. It's like we're handed a script, but we have tons of room to improvise and change things as we go.
This isn't some new idea. Ancient traditions, like in the Bhagavad Gita, had a word for this, prakruti. It's basically your underlying nature, your default wiring, your triggers, your strengths. It is, literally, the water you're swimming in.
Okay, so if we're all just living inside these patterns, these blueprints, then why do we struggle so much? Where does all the suffering actually come from? Let's get into that.
First up, we've got to talk about pain. And pain is, well, it's just pain. It's a direct signal. You stub your toe, you feel pain. You have a tough conversation, you feel emotional pain. It's an unavoidable part of being human.
Okay, but then there's suffering. And this is the absolute key distinction we're going to make today. Suffering is not the pain. It's the story about the pain. It's our reaction to it. The, why is this happening to me? The, this isn't fair. That whole mental spiral, that is suffering.
There's this fantastic metaphor that explains this perfectly. Think of it like this. Pain is the first arrow. It hits you. It happens. You can't always stop it. But suffering, that's the second arrow, the one you pick up and shoot into yourself. It's the blame, the shame, the endless rehashing of what happened. It's often totally self-inflicted.
So this is the whole point, right here. Our real power, our real freedom, isn't about becoming invincible so that the first arrow never hits us. That's impossible. No, our freedom is found in the space between the first arrow hitting and us reaching for that second one. It's about choosing not to fire it.
And this is where wisdom from a text like the Bhagavad Gita becomes so practical. It basically says, look, you're going to act according to your nature, your prakriti. That's a given. So your job isn't to fight that. Your job is to focus on doing the right thing right here, right now. And then, and this is the hard part, let go of what happens next. Stop obsessing over the results.
This just flips the whole script on what it means to be in control. You realize you can't control what life throws at you, but you absolutely can control the quality of your response. And that, right there, is where your power is. Okay, that's a nice idea, right? Control your response. But how? How do you actually create that space between the trigger and the reaction in real life? Well, let's get practical. Let's open up the toolkit. And what's great is that modern psychology has given us some fantastic tools that fit perfectly with these old ideas. We're talking about two main skills here. First, metacognition, which is just a fancy way of saying thinking about how you think. And second, emotional intelligence, which is all about getting smart with your feelings.
So you can break it down into 4 simple but powerful steps. It all starts with acceptance, just seeing what's happening without fighting it. Then comes self-awareness. Oh, there's that pattern again. Next is self-management. Okay, I feel angry, but I don't have to yell. And that leads to the final step, making a conscious choice about what you're going to do next.
And look, you don't need to go to a monastery for a decade to learn this. It's about small, simple things you can do every single day. Like just pausing to take one deep breath when you feel triggered.
or noticing that negative story you tell yourself and asking, is that really true? These tiny micro practices are what build that muscle over time.
So let's bring this all home. What does it actually mean to be human? To live with this weird mix of preset patterns and this amazing ability to choose?
I think it really comes down to this. It means we stop fighting ourselves. We stop trying to pretend we don't have these patterns. Instead, we get curious about them. We learn to work with them, to act wisely right inside of them. You put your whole heart into what you're doing, and then you'll let the results be what they're going to be.
Look, this is not just some philosophical idea. It's a practice. It's something you do. So I'll leave you with this to think about for the week ahead. What's one second arrow you can just not fire? Where in your life can you find a little bit of freedom by choosing your response?